Hey guys, it's Ravenhawk6910 reporting once again. So today we got some interesting news that came down. Two things. First of all, the new MTH 2018 Volume 1 catalog dropped. And in addition to that, Lionel announced a brand new locomotive for the Vision line. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about that first because that's a little bit more exciting. So, today at the TCA show in York, Pennsylvania, Lionel announced the brand new Lionel Vision Line, New York Central, Niagara. And an interesting choice for the Vision Line, in my personal opinion. It's been a long time since one has been made by Lionel. I believe the last one was the Century Series one a while back. So it's nice to see the Niagara come back. Now, a lot of people are a little upset because it's an old tooling that they're just rehashing, but I don't think it's going to be terrible because really that's going to save Lionel some money in that regard, because that way we'll save money also because they don't have to make a whole brand new tooling. Now I understand wanting models that have never been done before, because I believe the last model, aside from the riveted GG1 that we got a couple years back now, the latest new tooling for a Vision Line locomotive, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe was the Centipede. And up to that we haven't gotten anything new, because the Big Boy's been done before, the GG1's been done before, and now the Niagara's been done before. But I think it's going to be a good thing because of the features that are in this thing, and this thing has a lot of features on it. In typical Vision Line style, it's got the smokestack, of course, and the whistle steam smoke effect. That's nothing new right there. It's also got a smoking set of pop-off valves. Now, pop-off valves are valves that are right on top of the locomotive, and whenever there is an excess amount of pressure in the boiler, those valves open up to relieve the pressure on the boiler, and it will shoot a massive cloud of steam into the air and make a very loud hissing noise, just you'll see a steam engine stopped and it'll build up too much pressure or something like that, and you'll see the pop-off valves going off. That's what that's about. And that's just to relieve excess pressure in the boiler. Without those, the engine would explode. Now, also in terms of smoke features, there's also going to be, I believe, 2 separate smoke units in the tender of this locomotive, and that's going to be used for a very interesting effect. The New York Central used the Niagaras on high-speed passenger and freight service, and one of the primary things they had to save time en route was water scoops and water pans. Basically, the locomotive had a scoop underneath the bottom of the tender, and then there were these trackside pans, so the engine would come along at track speed, scoop the water up into the tender, so that way you wouldn't have to stop at a water tower constantly. And, of course, not all the water would go in. Some would fly out and stream down the side of the tender. So these 2 smoke units that are in the tender are going to recreate that effect to some extent. You know, obviously, when the Niagaras and other steam engines did that, they obviously didn't shoot out smoke. It was more of just like a misty stream almost. And that's what these smoke units are going to duplicate. Also, on the subject of the tender is the sound system. There's going to be 3 speakers inside of the Niagara, just like there was on the Vision Line Big Boy. So 1 in the boiler, and then 2 more in the tender. And just like on the Big Boy, the GG1, and the Centipede, those sounds are going to be localized in the Rail Sounds package. So the whistle and the exhaust stack and everything else are going to come from the front of the engine, and then everything else is going to be spread towards the back of the engine to give a more fuller effect. Now, the last feature is a little bit interesting, and I'm not entirely sure how to word it. If you want to get a proper explanation, go to Lionel's Facebook page and watch the live stream that they did at the York show, and they'll go into a little bit more details on this than I can explain. But from what I've gathered, there's a sensor on the rear coupler of the engine that will detect how hard the engine is working in terms of pulling the train. Now, there's already a feature on the Legacy remote that will allow you to adjust the labor effects of the sounds. But from what I can gather, this coupler allows the engine to automatically adjust the sound system and adjust the sounds of the engine to determine how hard it's working. So if it's going up a hill, if it's going downhill, if it's pulling a light train or a heavy train, or if it's just running by itself, the sounds adjust accordingly. And so what this means is that you can get the engine really, really working hard, just get that thundering, just boom, 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 rifle fire stack talk when it's working hard, and it'll just be a nice coast, nice, slow, smooth stream when it's just by itself, moving around in a yard or doing lighter freight duty, whatever. Supposedly this sensor on the rear coupler is going to have something to do with that. Now, I could be wrong. That feature was very confusing to me because I've never seen anything like this, which is what the Vision line's about, doing new stuff. So, if you want a better explanation, go over to Lionel's Facebook page and watch the live stream that they did today at York, and that'll give you a better explanation probably than what I can give. Now, as far as paint schemes, from what I can gather, Lionel is going to do the normal black. They're going to do a gray version for the 20th Century Limited, and they're also going to do an unpainted pilot version also, so kind of like the Penske S2 that I have. So if they do a pilot version, I might just actually look at getting that one, because the Pilot Niagara would actually look very good with my Pilot S2 for a few reasons. Number one, they're both very large steam engines that require 072 curves. Second of all, you've got the very large Penske steam engine, and you've got the very large New York Central steam engine, so you've got the two big rival roads. And thirdly, they've both got elephant ears. Don't judge me. But the thing that's going to determine it more than anything is the price tag on the Vision Line Niagara. I am estimating personally that it's going to be between $1,700 and $2,000 for this engine. Yes, this is going to be very expensive. And unfortunately, because it has a giant centipede tender, that means it's also going to have a minimum curve requirement of 072. No more, no less. So if you've got a smaller layout, sorry, but this engine is just not going to run on those curves. But everything in terms of the price, the paint schemes, and everything else will be finalized for the 2018 Volume 1 catalog that's going to drop from Lionel at the end of January of 2018. So we'll get final prices then, and from there I'll look at ordering one of these steam engines. I would very much like to, because this thing has a lot of bells and whistles. Pun super intended. Now, shifting gears a little bit, MTH launched the 2018 Volume 1 catalog today. And, for me personally, I was a little disappointed because, at least for the Premier Line side of things, everything that is being offered, with the exception of a few of the paint schemes on the diesels, have all been offered before in some way, shape, or form. For example, the Preservation Series Big Boys, that was in the last catalog. The N&W Class A's. Now, granted, I am happy to see the Class A's return because I don't have one yet, but those were cataloged, a few catalogs back. The Southern Railway PS4s, that was in the previous catalog. And, like I said, with the exception of a few odd returns like the Amtrak AEM7 and the Amtrak P32-8, in the Dash 8 side of things, there's really nothing new. Now, on the Rail King side of things, there are some very nice, flashy paint schemes for some of the models. For example, the SD70 ACEs, there's now one painted up for the Tier 4 demonstrator unit. But again, they're just using a normal SD70 ACE body. There's no new tooling or anything. It's just a change of the paint scheme. Then the ES44 ACs, back in the Premier Line side of things, they're offering, say, that fictional Santa Fe one. That was in a previous catalog also. So again, there's nothing new. So as much as I hate to say it, I'm probably not going to order anything out of this new catalog except for one thing. And that is the new stage car for the Canadian Pacific Holiday Train. Now what that's going to be is going to be an extra separate item for the Holiday Train. And basically it's a 60-foot box car that has a big white door on the front that folds down to become a stage for bands to perform and for, kids to see Santa, blah, 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 blah. And it's basically just an extra feature for the Holiday Train that was in the previous catalog. And to be honest, I'm kind of glad they're doing that because it made me wonder why they didn't offer it because it's definitely one of those unique spotting features of the holiday train. So that's going to be probably the only thing I get from MTH out of this new catalog, for the time being anyways. In case any of you guys do want to look through the new catalog for yourselves, I'll leave a link to the catalog down in the description box. That way you can go view things at your leisure and see things that you might like as opposed to things that I may not like. Something else that caught my attention in terms of the MTH catalog was at the very back where the club cars are. There were no tin plate cars. They're standard gauge or O gauge. They were just not there. There was a Premier car, there was a Rail King car, there was an HO car, an S gauge, and a G gauge one, but no tin plate. So that's very surprising, actually. So I don't know why MTH chose not to offer a tin plate car. So maybe someone can give me an answer for that. I'm not sure, but it was definitely a surprise. There's my thoughts on the MTH 2018 Volume 1 catalog and the new Lionel New York Central Niagara for the Vision line. So what do you guys think? Are you guys happy about the Niagara? Are you disappointed that it wasn't something else? I know there was a lot of talk among modelers on the internet that the next Vision line engine was possibly going to be Strasburg Railroad number 90. I don't know where that came from, to be honest, but it just goes to show you shouldn't judge things and look at things and make conclusions on things until you have more evidence to support it, or just do what everyone else does and wait till it comes out. While me personally, I am not a New York Central guy per se, I do have a few small New York Central items in my collection, such as the 466T and a couple other freight cars. But it's definitely a very interesting model that is going to have a whole lot of features in it. So I'm probably going to look at getting one of them. If they do the unpainted pilot version, that may be the one that I get. But I'll let you guys know for sure, the closer we get to the 2018 Volume 1 catalog's release from Lionel, and we'll go from there. As for the MTH catalog, I said there's not too much in there. All I'm really interested in getting right now is the extra box car for the CP holiday train. But again, that's just my thoughts. What do you guys think? What are you happy about seeing from the new MTH catalog? Are you happy about the Niagara? And what features are you looking forward to on that engine? Me personally, I want to see the Popoff valve feature because that looks like it'll be very, very cool if it's done properly. But again, that's my thoughts. Leave your thoughts down in the comments section. Let's get some good old-fashioned discussion going, and I will see you guys next time. This is Ravenhawk6910, signing off. Basically a 60-foot box car, I believe, that has a big center stage section that folds down